Lamar, how you doing today?
What's up, man? I'm doing good. How you doing?
Man, I'm blessed and highly favored. I'm so thankful that you jumped on here today.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'm glad it worked out. I got a little worried with the technical difficulties,
Man.
but it's only the second time I've ever done this.
Oh
So,
man, well I'm glad that I can, kind of welcome you into the Instagram live world. Let me be honest, I'm learning still myself. I've done a few of these, I'm still learning.
man, yeah, it's gonna take me a minute, but it's good to be with you.
Yes, sir. First and foremost, for those who don't know who I'm talking to today, special guest is Lamar Hurd, Portland Trailblazers announcer, commentator. But like I said earlier before he got on, he's got a much bigger story than just a Portland Trailblazers commentator announcer. And I'm excited to highlight that today. From Houston, Texas, went to Oregon State University. Go Beavers. I see you shouting them out all the time. But before any of that, before we get to any of the content, if anybody's watched this show, you know what goes down. I got to ask you the most important question of the conversation, and that is, Lamar, have you smiled today?
I have, yeah, on multiple occasions.
What'd
Yeah,
you what'd you smile about today?
a lot of things. I smiled that I got up and I got pretty good health, and I have family members. I'm employed. My wife and I were able to cook breakfast together again. We've been able to do that literally pretty much every morning or every other morning this season. And that's significant for us because normally over the last 4 years, I'm on a road, like
Yeah.
100 days out of the year. So this year, with the NBA not traveling, announcers a lot with us in our organization, I've been home every night. For me, like that's one of the tougher parts of the job, the traveling aspect, because I enjoy being home. I enjoy being able to be with my wife, and so uh, little things like that, man. I'm just grateful for it all.
Hey, it sounds good. Sounds like you think about the right things that a lot of people take for granted, and I'm so glad to hear that. But
Yeah.
another thing that I feel like people take for granted is your bars that you be dropping sometimes. You be dropping bars. I saw what you did in the pandemic. Just enlighten the people for those who don't know about this guy. Hey, he's not a rapper. He said the album's not coming soon, but I might need a mixtape or something. But this is how he started off the song. As soon as he did that, I was like, whoa. He said, I don't run around, I just walk fast. I was like,
Uh,
oh, here we go. And then I'm gonna say a few of the other bars that I thought was really good that I heard on the song. It said, if you ever left my side, that's your fault. You can't even have my flavor if you add salt. I was like, oh lordy.
yeah, man. I was just having fun with it. So that song is called Drake Grant, the instrumental.
Yeah,
It's Damian Lillard put out a
right,
couple years ago with Brookfield Deuce, his cousin, and like Dame. Those guys, they're real rappers,
right.
real, collabs with Wayne, Two Chains, everybody else. So I was just having fun with it, man. We had a lot of idle time during the pandemic, and it's something I used to just do a lot for fun. Like about 10, 12 years ago, a friend of mine here in town, his name is Travis Jones. He's also a DJ. He goes by DJ Jupiter Williams. He and we just started randomly like rapping at times. You know how it is
Yeah.
with the boys and a beat come on. Yeah, you doing something. Say you're doing something. So we just started turning it into stuff. And we actually we did like at least 50 different songs, 50 different beats we
Mm,
hopped on. That was back then. So what ended up happening is a few years ago, again, my wife and I, we were driving up to the Seattle area for a Emmys dinner. And as we were driving there, like we had the song playing. She listens to it all the time. And so we had it playing and she told me just hop on it right now, give them something. So that was my first recording that I had ever put out there like that. Yeah, but last year in the pandemic, it was just too much time on my hands, man.
Hey, I gotta say one more that you said. I was like, sheesh. He said, I haven't scratched the surface, but baby, I got the itch. I
Yeah.
was like, ooh, that boy look nice on the mic, man. I ain't mad at you.
Low key, low key.
But before I get to my actual question on this topic, I gotta ask this question because prayerfully we're gonna get a Damian Lillard conversation on here soon. But on the topic of his music, have you mastered the Dre Grant dance? I've been working on it so I can have it ready.
I can't do it like them. Dame his brother Houston Lillard, his cousins, like all of them, his mama. Like his mom can hit it. I'm serious. Like that's what they do. They're from there. So where are you from? Are you from Oakland?
Oh no, I'm from Kansas City, Missouri.
Okay, okay.
So
Uh
I'm one of the rare gems that can dance out here.
okay. Yeah, no, I have not. I haven't even tried to hit it like them because it's next level when they do it.
Man. Hey, I be seeing them. I'm like, man, I got to get my Dre Graham ready. So when I
Oh,
talk to him, hey.
yeah. Oh,
But the question I have for this topic is, and I don't know if you will have one or not, but what is your favorite bar that you've ever heard? Or the first bar that comes to mind when I ask that question. I'll say mine just to, give you some help of what mine is. Mine is by J. Cole, my favorite rapper. And he said, old chick calling, but I'm on the new things. She's still a dime, but I always lose change.
mm.
So that's one of my just favorite bars. But do you have a
I
favorite bar?
don't think I do. I don't have a lot of favorites in general. Like
Oh, okay.
a favorite TV show, favorite movie, favorite man. All these years, I still can't answer those questions because I like a lot of different things. Um, Yeah, favorite bar, man. I don't know, and I'm not even like I'm not even trying to claim like I'm a rap head, like I know everything because I don't. I don't listen to it. Like I don't have Pandora. I literally just downloaded Spotify like a couple months ago, and it was so random even why I did it. The guy here in town who's my lawyer, he was telling me like he's got a group of people. They have this Spotify playlist, so he wanted to, have me join it. So I joined it, but I still haven't even logged on. So like I'm so old or old school or whatever you would call it with that. Like I'm the dude that I'll go I'll go to the gym, have my headphones in, and I'll be sitting there watching like a YouTube. Like I'll go to YouTube, put the song on, listen to the song like that, rather than just having an iPhone's playlist or whatever. So yeah, man, I don't really follow it as closely. Like I'm aware of all the artists and I'm aware of a lot of lines. I will say this though, I guess, to as closely as possible answer your question. I remember when Wayne was on that run, like 12 years ago, like when No Ceilings was coming out, when
Yeah.
I remember I felt like every couple months he was saying something that like, like the stuff that you got to go back and listen to it a few times,
Right.
realize like, oh, that's what okay. All right, that's I see what he did.
There be a lot of stuff that, I heard that song like in 2000, like nine or whatever when that came out. And I just now get some of the lines that come, like when I listen to it now in 2021, I'm like, hey, he was really spitting.
Man, different. Like different. I don't again, I didn't listen to everybody closely enough to have, I think, a credible opinion on this,
Right.
but I feel confident in my limited knowledge in saying I don't think anybody was doing it like he was doing it.
Right. He definitely one of the goats. He honestly, he's probably my goat. And, and anybody can argue that. Like, I'm kind of like you. Like, I ain't the
Mhm.
craziest music enthusiast, but I know Lil Wayne, Jay-Z. I know who's up there.
Yeah,
So I ain't a stranger, but I do know a little about Lil Wayne. But
yeah.
no, that's so dope. I'm so glad that you mentioned him because I don't feel like we can have a rap conversation without him. So. Moving on to the next topic, I know that you are a believer, as I am as well, and I was curious as to how faith played a part in your decision to move back to the United States. Because, um, correct me if I'm wrong, I know that you was playing basketball overseas in Germany, and then you had the unction to come back to United States and work with kids. And I could kind of relate in this sense that I worked with this nonprofit program, Big Brothers Big Sisters. So, I'm familiar of like, wanting to impact somebody else's life, doing something bigger than myself. So I was just relating to you in that sense, but I wanted to know how faith made that, help you make that transition back to the United States.
Yeah, I'll try to give you the condensed version because I know we're a bit limited here. We might have to hop on for a part two sometime to like dive. But basically, um, when I was in Germany, I was playing and I was having a good season, and it was the first time in 4 years that I was having a lot of fun playing basketball because my time at Oregon State, man, it was a mental roller coaster for me. I grew a lot. I learned a lot. I learned how to be accountable for every action I take during that time. My coach and I, we would clash sometimes. It was the first time in my life where I played for a coach that, like we didn't see eye to eye a lot of times. Good, solid dude. Like we're cool now today, but during that time it was rocky a lot. So I had a lot of bad basketball moments there. Got to Germany and it was a 180. It was okay. I feel like I'm back now. I got a chance. I can do some things. Went back to the Portland area just in the interim after the season concluded, and was planning to go back either overseas or I had a chance that year to get involved in the G League. So either way, I felt like I had some good promising options that could, give me a chance to try to get ultimately to the highest level. And my college roommate suggested to me, hey, why don't you go work over at this gym called The Hoop in Beaverton, Oregon. Beaverton is where the Nike campus is. And, like work there, go coach some kids, just to get a free membership. So I was like, yeah, that sounds like a good idea. I'll go coach these kids. And so anyway, I walked in there, made a deal with the guy who's the general manager of the facility, let him know, like, I might get a call any day. And when I get that call to go play, I got to go. Like teams don't wait on you to coach your last kids game. Like you got to be ready to go. So everybody was cool with it. And that was the plan going into it. And then I walked in there one night for my first practice because I was assigned this team of third, fourth, and fifth graders. They all played on one team. It was 8 or 9 of them. And I was supposed to be coaching them through the fall league until I left. Man, they walked in there for that first day of practice. And in my mind and in my heart, I retired from basketball that day because when they came in, what I saw in that situation was an opportunity to be for them what my coach was for me when I was growing up. So when I grew up in Houston, Texas, I grew up with just my mom at the house. I had 2 brothers, and I was a basketball fanatic through and through. Like I could tell you, my conversation about basketball would have been a complete opposite of the conversation we just had about rap. I could have given you a favorite. I could have told you what they said, what they did, where they went to school, what number they wore, where they went. I could have told you everything. So that was me as a kid. So when I was in the 6th grade, I begged my mom to let me move out the house to go play for this basketball coach in this city north of Houston. And my older brother went to the school first, and he would tell me about it. Like it's a small private school, K through 12. We got 120 kids, but the coach had a key to the gym. They hooped all the time, which for me growing up, like I didn't come from financial resources at all. So key to the gym. The backboards have glass on them. You know what I'm saying? It's not wood backboards. You can go in there anytime. They would say stuff like after hooping, till 9 or 10 o'clock, coach might take everybody to McDonald's and you go get something. Like for me, that was we didn't do that. We didn't have those kind of ends just to like do that kind of thing. So all of it sounded like this glamorous life to me, and my mom let me go there in the 6th grade. So I went there and I spent the next 7 years at this school. Eventually, my mom moved up there because I just loved it so much. So my mom moved up there and my family, we were reunited up there. But man, I spent 7 years with that guy. And so fast forward to this moment now that I'm in this gym in Beaverton, Oregon in 2007. And it's like all this stuff that I experienced with that guy who taught me through my passion for basketball, essentially how to live life. All of this stuff came back to me in this moment. So I was just kind of in an unexpected place where I never thought about coaching kids or working with kids. But the moment kind of just, slapped me in the face at that time and said, like, this is what you're supposed to be doing. And I didn't know what it meant. I didn't know how long. But I just believed. I believed in my heart. I believed that's where God was leading me at that time. I believed it was the right place for me. And even when I made that decision, in my mind, I was giving up being an announcer because I don't know any announcers at what you would consider reputable levels who retired from the game at 23 after an up and down college career after only 1 season overseas. Like it doesn't really work that way. And I was cool with it because I felt like in my heart I was making the right decision, and whatever came of that would be what needed to come of it. So I was grateful, man, that the opportunities have been provided to me since then. And fortunately for me, that year when I was home or in Oregon was the year when I got my first interview to become a TV announcer. So if I was following the normal path at that time, I would have been off somewhere playing
Right.
when I got all an opportunity to get into announcing. So I'm grateful for how it all worked out. I had a chance to be with a lot of kids during that time. But definitely my faith guided me in what was a huge decision in my life.
Let me ask you this. How important do you think it is to, of course you have your own plan, but then, there's something else that doesn't seem like it is according to plan, but having to trust that instead of your own plan.
That's big because I think we're presented with the chances to do that over and over again in our lives. And I think everybody's life, like everybody has their own story. And I think the quicker we can grasp that and grab onto that, the more we're going to succeed in whatever role it is that is laid out for us. Like, I know a lot of guys that have been in a similar position like me in the basketball world where your career didn't end up being what you wanted it to be, or it got cut short because of injury or something. This happens to a lot of guys that and women where that happens, and then afterwards, like you lose another year or two in picking up the pieces and moving to your next step because you're so distraught about that happening, instead of accepting it for what it is or embracing whatever this new path is. And then you just constantly find yourself a little bit behind the eight ball. So I think there are things that I know happened in my life leading up to that moment where I've had to trust before. Like that wasn't the first time. I had to trust that I was making the right decision, that this was a decision that my spirit was telling me to make. And so the more and more I think we answer the call in those situations, then as the decisions start to get bigger and bigger, the easier it is to make them. It's not like it becomes scarier. It just becomes one of those things where once you make the decision over and over and you trust and you follow that, then you have this peace once you
Hmm.
start to make decisions. Like for me, becoming a Trailblazer announcer, that was a big decision for me in my life at that time because I was in a really, really good situation prior to that. But I knew the reasons why I was making the decision to become a Trailblazer announcer, which were bigger than just the game of basketball. I understood the level of influence the Trailblazers have within our city, within our state. I understood what the leadership team was trying to accomplish. So it wasn't just about being a broadcaster and being able to sign on to your IG Live and brag about, oh man, I was just talking to Damian Lillard 2 days ago for an hour and he's telling me all these stories about Space Jam 2 and all. Like that's fine, but that's not why I did this. Like that's just a part of it. So I was able to have peace even when I made that decision back in 2016 because I knew the reasons why I was making it.
Right. And I think you hit the nail right on the head because that I believe that that is a muscle that you have to build up. Like it
Yeah.
doesn't ever become easy, but
Mhm.
it becomes easier as you
Mhm.
continue to build that muscle. And I can definitely relate because I feel like not only myself, but I feel like 2020 was probably that way for a lot of people. It's not
Mhm.
something that is a part of your plan and you got to find a way to persevere through all of that. But as you learn to persevere, as I learned to persevere, there's a lot of other things that began to unfold that was not a part of my plan, but I'm so thankful that I gave myself to that because it seems like it is a better situation than what I initially had planned. Like I didn't have any of these Instagram live conversations on my 2020 calendar when I first started January 1st last year. I was just like, I got this plan and I'm gonna get through this, and did not go anything according to that. And I was just like, you know what, Lord, you just use me. All right, let's just go. All right, and then eventually these started to line up, and I was just like, man, I'm just so thankful that I had the faith and the trust to, like you said, trust my spirit because I know that if I would have kept going against it, I would have kept having that friction within myself, and I think it's important to overcome that if you do have these goals that you want to eventually accomplish because, like you said, it's much bigger than these conversations to me. For me, it's about building a relationship with the person that I'm talking to so that we can talk off the camera. And then also people that are watching, they are able to see like the amazing story that this person has. Like you're not just a Portland Trailblazers announcer. Like you are a husband, you're a coach, and there's certain lessons that people can extract from your life, and that's the reason why I do these conversations. Like, yeah, it's cool talking to you. You just talk to Damian Lillard, all that type of stuff, but none of that stuff really matters at the end of the day. It's more so about the person that I'm talking to, and that's really what I try to highlight. It's about highlighting the person for who they are, not for what they do. So
Yeah.
no, I definitely that's everything in a nutshell. But I definitely relate to you in that sense. But I know that with your nonprofit program, the other side of basketball, that's an amazing thing that you're doing with that as well. Because I really like it because of the what your mission is basically. And what I have written down is you want the kids to refine their character, live by integrity, and trust their spirit. So I was going to ask you along those lines, and what you probably kind of already answered it is like, was that time when you had to decide to, give up your basketball career? Was that a time when you had to refine your character, live by integrity, and also trust your spirit?
Yeah, I felt like I was doing the first two for the most part. But yeah, that decision came up where it's time to trust in it now.
Yeah.
Like you're in this position now, trust in what's right in front of you. And when I started the other side of basketball, that was in 2012. I was actually coming from an organization that I co-owned with one of my former college teammates, in which we were the largest competitive youth basketball organization in the entire state at that time, both in terms of participant numbers and in revenue. We had the program to a place where I didn't even have to show up if I didn't want to,
Yeah.
and I could still collect a check. And I didn't have any problems paying bills or getting the things that I wanted or needed. So it was a really solid situation that we ended up building. But in 2011, I started to have conversations with my then co-owner and said, this isn't the reason I got into coaching. It's not that we were necessarily doing anything wrong, but we just weren't having the impact, and it wasn't the relational type of organization anymore that it started out as, and that I envisioned it being. And I want to say that's to anybody's fault. I think it's just one of those things where we experienced some wild success early on. Maybe didn't have the blueprint laid out the way that we needed so that we can make sure we maintain what we wanted to maintain. So I ended up leaving that organization, didn't take a dollar, and started the other side of basketball that year. Just made a clean break from it. And I wanted to start it to try to do it again, to try to do it in how I felt was the right way for me. For the reason when I retired from basketball in 2007, what I wanted to give kids and what I wanted them to receive in return. So that's why it started, and that was one of those big decisions as well. Because again, I was walking away from a really good setup, and it all worked out. It all worked out the way it needed to. And now I'm at a place right now where since I joined the Trailblazers, I haven't been able to be as involved, nearly as involved in the other side of basketball as I was prior. So for the last few years, I've had other people stepping in the gap, kind of running it, doing what they can. But ever since the pandemic hit, we've been halted. There's been nothing going on. But this is the thing. So my part of my what changed, but my why never changed. The reason why I do what I do, why I want to work with kids, that never changed. So I, as an individual, have been able to still do the work of being able to be a part of kids' lives, impacting good organizations out there through both myself and then also my work with the Trailblazers. Because as I stated earlier, the organization from the leadership down understands the importance of us being involved. I don't even like, I said this to Dave the other day, like I don't like using the term give back to the community because to me that almost feels like there's a separator. Like I'm over here and so I'm gonna give it back to you. Like it's tough to give back if we side by side. You just feel like we're a part of it. And
Right.
so that's the relationship we've been able to develop with a lot of different entities within the community now. So even if I'm not with the other side of basketball, if I'm not with the Trailblazers can call me tomorrow and say, hey, you gone. You know what I'm saying? Like
Right.
we're letting you go. That's not going to rock the reason why I do what I do. I'm going to continue doing it. And I trust that the Lord will lead me to wherever is that next spot. Now, fortunately, it all is going well with the Trailblazers. It's going well with the people I'm with. So like you want that kind of thing to go on. So I would never tell people like, whatever happens, it just happens. Like, no, I get it. Like if something goes a different way, like there's this kind of, oh, what's going on moment. But you can still have faith and believe. And that's why you always want to be on the right end of things. Like you want to make sure your relationships with people are right. You want to make sure you're having straight up conversations. Just so everything's always clear. So like if things do happen, if there's a split, if there's some type of disruption. There's this understanding within yourself where you know, like, man, I've said everything I needed to say. Like, I've been on the up and up with you, everything clear. So whatever happens, I can have a peace with that.
Right. That's the big thing. And one thing that you said, it made me think of this quote, and we'll talk a little bit about quotes later, is you said, your your what changed, but your why never changed. And I think that made me think of this quote that you write the goal in permanent marker, but you write the steps in pencil because like, you never know how you're going to get there. It's just all about continually making those steps every single day. But I do want to give a shout out to your show, The Herd Mentality, because
Mm,
it's kind of going along those same lines about you highlighting what's going on in the community, and I think that's such a beautiful thing that you do on that show. But uh like we talked about earlier about you working with kids and making an impact on their lives, it made me think of this question that I talked about with my mom the other day, and I was like, that's a perfect question for this conversation from my man Lamar. So the question that I have, it goes along with your work with the brand Books. And for everybody
mm,
that's listening, that's VOOKS. That's V as in Violet, not books, but books. You got to switch your lip up a little bit. But
mm.
I saw your work with them, and you love the kids and they're all that type of stuff. And that brand is, video books. Am I correct?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Streaming. It's the first streaming platform for animated storybooks.
And man, I wish I had something like that when I was
That's
younger
exactly
because
what I said.
I'm,
Yep.
I'm a visual learner.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
I would love to have had something like that. But it's never too late. One day I'm gonna have kids, God willing. But when it's time for that, I'm so excited to, see a brand like that. And hopefully there are more brands that start to build that up because I think that's something amazing. But as far as my question is concerned, it made me want to ask you, and I know that you say you don't have favorites earlier, so it kind of ruins this question, but we can still discuss it.
I
Well,
see.
what's some of your favorite books that you had read as a kid? For me, I'm not sure if you ever heard of any of these books, but these are some of my favorites. I had Salt in His Shoes. It was a story about Michael Jordan growing up, and it was a picture book, and I just really enjoyed it. And it was about his mom putting salt in his shoes so he could grow taller. And
Hmm.
because he could never play with Larry and everybody else in his family, so his mom would put salt in his shoes so he can grow taller. It made me think of my mom because she used to put oil in my shoes, to,
Oh wow.
she, trying to
That anointing
sanctify
oil?
me. Yeah, the
Okay.
anointing oil.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
everywhere I walk,
Okay.
had that anointing. So shout out
Yes.
my mom for that.
Yeah.
And then also my other favorite book that I have that I read growing up was Shack and the Beanstalk. So it's not
Yeah.
Jack like we
Yeah.
talked about
Yeah.
with books. It's Shack, and it's
Yeah.
just of course Shack is tall, and it's kind of just fitting for that story of a tall beanstalk. And he's already up there because he's so tall, and I just think it's those books they resonated with me. Just I love basketball, and then of course my mom. So that those are
Yeah.
my favorite books.
Yeah. That makes sense. Well, that anointing oil worked.
That's
Your mom set that foundation in you early on, man, and it stayed with you. Train a child in the way he should go. When he's old, he won't turn from it.
hey,
That's
you
real
know
deal.
it.
Um, yeah, you would think like I had basketball books, but I don't remember having basketball books. So that was the only place where basketball wasn't maybe a part of my life. I remember like the stories, like the Chronicles of Narnia, um, those kind of things, Curious George, like anything that had pictures, like you said, if it had pictures in it, I enjoyed that. But yeah, it was kind of some of those adventurous stories. But I kind of wrap books in here with that. When I first found out about books, it was from a gentleman who is maybe the best human being I know, and that's saying a lot because the guy who I talked about growing up under in Texas, like he was my father figure, and
Right.
what I'm saying, he's right there. But this dude up here, man, his name is Joey Jenkins. Runs a nonprofit called World Encompass. He's as solid as it gets as an individual. He told me about books. And Joey's the kind of person that when he tells you about something, you know where it's coming from. There's a place in the heart it's coming from. There's purpose aligned with it. It's not just this is this cool thing or here's this great business opportunity, but it's void of purpose. So Joey had invited me to this kind of test run that the books management group. It was a small little group at that time. They wanted to introduce books to the world. This was only a few years ago. And so I went to that and I thought the same thing you thought that you just expressed. I was like, man, where was this at when I was a kid? I fell in love with it. But the biggest thing that spoke to me about it was, wow, we can get some really neat, impactful messaging to kids through this platform. So some kids maybe who aren't so excited about reading, maybe if we could put it in a cool way like this, where it basically looks like a cartoon, and they don't even realize it, but it's messages of empowerment, it's messages of integrity, it's messages of kindness. And if we can get that to them where it resonates and it sticks and it gets deep inside of them, that's what excited me about it early on. So those were the kind of books too that I remember, just being at church, being in Sunday school, going through certain things. There was always good messaging I felt going on in my life. So that's a long-winded way of answering my favorite without answering it. If I had to pick one, I remember the Chronicles of Narnia just sticking out to me. But yeah, man, anything that just had really good messaging, I was good with.
Hey, I'm not unfamiliar when it comes to long-winded. I'm long-winded myself. I got a few pastors that are long-winded, so I ain't no stranger when it comes to that.
Okay.
But I'm so glad that you said that the Chronicles of Narnia. I remember reading that growing up, and just those type of books. But I think that all that goes back to what we were talking about earlier. It's you change the what. Like maybe it's not in this form, not in this form of this book, but it's still the same why. To teach
Hmm.
kindness, to teach uh peace, whatever it is, just teaching these principles that you could still get it to the kids, but just in a different vehicle. And I think that's
Hmm.
just so amazing that you partner with that brand books to, put that message out there. But we're at 35 minutes. I said 30. Like I said, I'm long-winded, so I apologize. But
You
this
okay?
this is the last question I got for you, Lamar. And like I said, everything's kind of ruined now that you said you ain't got no favorites. But
Now,
we gonna
see, I messed stuff up for people, man. I
No, it's
messed up.
okay. I think it gave the conversation more flavor. So I'm happy
Okay.
that you said that, to be honest. But my last question I always ask on the show is what is your favorite quote? And I always try to see like what quotes can I get that pertain to my guest. And you already mentioned one of them. And that one is train up a child in the way that they shall go. So when they grow old, they won't depart from it. That's something my mom always used to say to me. She still
Hmm.
says it to me to this day. And I'm thankful for that. And then also another one that I saw on your page was it's easier to build strong children than to repair broken men. And I think that's uh so impactful, just that message right there because it's the
Yeah.
truth. It's a lot harder to do it here as opposed to
Yeah.
doing it earlier. So
Yeah. Well, that's the one I would go with.
yeah,
That's the one. So like when people ask me that question, I say I don't know that I necessarily have a favorite quote, but I got some top ones, and that one from Frederick Douglass is definitely one. Because yeah, it's not impossible to repair broken adults, but man, it could be hard. It could be hard. People get set in those ways, and they don't really want to switch it up. But if you can get a hold of kids early on and impact them and influence them and show them a reason why they should want to be kind or they should want to be um, respectful or hardworking. You know what I'm saying? Like I I feel like I got the benefit of seeing that. Like my coach growing up, I got a chance. Like I lived with him for an entire year.
hmm
So you couldn't fake it with me. Like you could do stuff maybe when we were out in public that you could fake it with some other people. Like, but then when we go back home, I'm seeing the real. I'm hearing the phone conversations you're having with people. I'm I'm in the bathroom, you know what I'm saying, while you're out in the kitchen yelling about something. Like I'm seeing everything. And I just remember, being with my coach early on, just feeling like, man, this dude, like he seemed like a real good person, good guy. He's the first person I felt like made Christianity in a way cool. It didn't feel like, oh, you're missing out on everything. You don't get to have fun and go to, the parties and do all
yeah,
this stuff. like I didn't look at it that way because I was viewing how he was living his life and then the results of that and the way people were receiving him and stuff. So I'm impressionable as a kid, and this stuff is sticking with me. So I just got a chance to live it out and see it. And I understand not everybody has either a good relationship with an adult growing up, whether it's their parents or a mentor or anything like that.
Mm.
But I was really fortunate that I got a chance to have that. And then my mom as well, all the things that she poured into my life. So that would be the one, man. And I'm really serious about that one because I feel like all too often the reaction and the outrage comes after the result. So you might hear on the news this NFL player or some other sport assaulted somebody or was cheating, just doing something that was wrong to do. And then, the outrage comes. And like I immediately I think back to like, well, man, who was coaching this person
Right.
when this person was in high school? Who was coaching him when he was in junior high? What was acceptable? What was allowed?
Mm.
Because that's when we really had the chance to set this person's path into what it needed to become. And again, it's not like, well, now it's too late, so we just let it go. But it's like, man, now
It's hard.
good luck. Good luck. This person has
Yeah.
30 years of getting passes on stuff like this. Like it's tough. So like I just that's maybe in terms of favorites, what are
Yeah.
like my favorite groups to work with? Groups that are working with youth.
Yeah.
Groups that are working with youth who I know it means a lot to them and they're serious about it because it's an everyday job. It's an everyday grind. And it's critical. Like you got to do it. You got to save people's lives early. Like don't wait to the mess up or the mix up because we wait till then. Now at this point, they're now damaging other people's lives. So it's not even just about them anymore. Now they got the power to hurt other people, and we could have flipped that. We
Right.
could have flipped it where they got the power to bless other people.
Right.
So I just feel like we got to get on that every day as much as we can. So definitely try to build up strong children as much as we can.
Yeah, because there's seeds that are being planted in these young
Yeah,
kids every day, good and bad seeds.
yeah,
And
yeah.
me and my mom always talk about it. One plants and another one fertilizes. So somebody could have planted that bad seed early, and then later on in their life, somebody else came and fertilizes it. And so it
Yes,
just
sir.
gets worse and worse. But there's also the flip side of that. You can get to the kid early and teach them the stuff that we talked about, like with books, like kindness, respectfulness, just all that type of stuff, and getting that into them early. You know,
Mm-hmm.
that is also good seeds that you can plant in them. And that's honestly the reason why I had joined Big Brothers Big Sisters, just to try my best to plant those seeds that, I feel like I didn't always have growing up, just doing my
Mm-hmm.
best what I can to impact a youth life. So
Yeah.
I definitely hear what you're saying when you come from that. But my another quote that I feel like I got to end this conversation off with is Tupac. I do know lyrics a little bit, but Tupac, he said, if people say there's no hope for the youth, and there's no hope for the future. So, and I think that's the truth. So you got to make sure that, you got to have faith in the youth and do what you can to impact them for the right reasons. So, you know,
Mm-hmm.
I definitely
Definitely.
feel you, Lamar, on that.
Yeah, definitely. No,
But
well, thank you, man. Thank you for your work, your heart. You know what I'm saying? The things that you're doing, and I'm gonna have to run now, but I'm gonna look forward to catching up with you again. Like
yeah,
certain people radiate certain energies, and it's clear, it's apparent, what you're about, and I appreciate that about you, man. And I feel like, like this past year was a really reflective year for a lot of people. People had to sit at home literally and just kind of think and watch. And like a lot of people wanted to help in certain areas or things. I think the first step, as much as we can, like people who share similar belief systems, hearts of trying to help, trying to empower, trying to impact. Like those people got to band together. They got to work together. Like they
right.
got to group up. Like we got to speak on each other's behalf. We got to help. So, man, I look forward to staying connected with you from here on out.
Yes, sir. I appreciate you, Lamar. I appreciate everybody that watched. I'm so thankful that you hopped on here today. But I hope you have a blessed day, and I hope you smile again today.
Yes, sir. Thanks, Perry. Take care. And yeah, thank you as well to everybody who commented and everything. I have a tough time following all that. I'm telling you, Perry, you're going to have to help me, man.
That's
Technicality.
that's
I'll be
that's
there
that's why I got these glasses on. I'll be trying to keep up with everything.
eventually.
But all right, Lamar.
Okay, man. Talk to you later.